Welcome to the latest episode of Out of the Mouth of Babes Bible Series. Today we're going to be dealing with a lesson out of the Bible as always. It is Saturday, August 29th, 2020. My name is Brandon. I will be doing the teaching today, and I got Brother Marlon with me. He will be doing the reading for today's service. It is the Sabbath, so I'd like to welcome everybody. Happy Sabbath. Well, the title of today's lesson is Out of the Bible, and it's titled Judge Nothing Before the Time. I'm going to repeat that, judge nothing before the time. And that's one of my favorite scriptures in the Bible. We're going to read it as part of today's lesson, obviously. But that's something that we constantly, as human beings, need to remind ourselves of. Because especially in this day and age, we live in a highly judgmental society. When people don't agree with tactic or word or whatever someone else may do or say, they instantly, jump into judgment. And we have to be careful with that because everybody's different, everybody has a different point of view, and most importantly, the Bible lets us know the only righteous judge is God. And we, as human beings, as the Bible lets us know, we tend to lean to our own understanding when it comes to trying to, pass judgment or even trying to, put things in perspective, I should say. Matter of fact, we're going to read that. Let's go to Proverbs, the 3rd chapter. Because Solomon warned us in Proverbs of just a few of the tendencies that man may have and things that we need to be cautious of. And that's pretty much what this Bible is all about. The Bible is pretty much teaching us how to be righteous, how to serve the Lord in a way that will ultimately lead us to getting into the kingdom of heaven. And that's what we need to use the Bible for. And we shouldn't use the Bible strictly to condemn one another or point out right or wrong. Because the Bible lets us know some things that we do that may be wrong, God even winks at. So if he's the one that's putting sin on us, then we need to let him do his job for the most part. But like I said, we're going to read the scripture. It wasn't originally part of it, but it came to my mind before we started. Proverbs, the 3rd chapter. And I'm going to have my brother read, maybe I'm in the wrong spot. Let me find that. Give me 1 second. I'll locate it real quick. Oh, yeah, it is. Okay, it is Proverbs 3. Proverbs, the 3rd chapter. And start reading. We're going to read one verse here. Read verse 5, my brother. We'll get that, go ahead.
Trust in the Lord with all thy heart, and lean not unto thy own understanding.
So that's what Solomon is telling us right here. We got to trust in the Lord. We have to trust that the Lord is going to be the one to guide us, direct us, and show us which way to go for the most part. But most importantly in this verse, he says, and lean not unto thine own understanding. Because see, your understanding may work for you, but it may not work for your neighbor. We got to understand that. It may work for you, but it may not work for God. God says in the Bible plainly, your ways are not my ways. So if God is going to allow something to go out, play out a certain way, then we have to let it play out and see what the end is going to be. That's what we have to do. See what the end is going to be. Turn to Proverbs 21st chapter, since we're here. Like I said, the title of today's lesson is Judge Nothing Before the Time. Proverbs, the 21st chapter. And I'm going to have my brother start reading, I'm going to have him read verse 2. Proverbs 21 and 2. When you get that, go ahead.
Every way of a man is right in his own eyes, but the Lord pondereth the heart.
So he's pretty much saying the same thing again here. Every way of a man is right in his own eyes. You don't do things in life and you just automatically just think you are in error. But that could be the case. God is the one that decides whether you are in error or whether you are not. Skip down to verse 12 and read that.
Verse 12. The righteous man wisely considereth the house of the wicked, but God overthroweth the wicked for their wickedness.
Okay, so then he goes on to say, and this is for the people, more or less, that, find themselves, telling somebody else that they're wrong. Or looking at somebody else as if they're evil or something like that. He says, at verse 12, the righteous man wisely considers the house of the wicked. What does he mean, wisely considering? That means he's going to do like Jacob did when Joseph had his dream. He's going to consider it. He's going to think about it. He's not going to rush to judgment. He's going to allow things to play out the way the Lord wants them to play out. And at the end of the day, if somebody is righteous, like the Bible says, let who is righteous be righteous still, let who's wicked be wicked still, the Lord is going to deal with it. That's why he said, but God overthroweth the wicked for their wickedness. So it's not our job to overthrow the wicked or to cast punishment or cause somebody some type of hurt or some pain because we feel like they did something wrong. That's for God to do. We have to sit back and let God plan play out, and not all the time, getting to working our own devices and saying, well, I'm going to do such and such because I don't feel like he or she was right about this. And that's what man gets in the habit of doing. Turn on to the 25th chapter of Proverbs. Proverbs, the 25th chapter. And when you get there, my brother, start reading at verse 8. Proverbs 25 and verse 8. When you get there, go ahead.
Go not forth hastily to strive, lest thou know not what to do in the end thereof.
Okay. So he said, go forth not hastily to strive, lest thou know not what to do in the end thereof. See, that's what we do. We'll jump to conclusions. We'll see something wrong, even if it's something in the Bible. We'll see somebody doing something wrong and be like, ooh, the Bible say don't do that. And then, instantly be at odds with somebody. But I'm going to show you in this lesson, or the Bible's going to show you in this lesson, that God allows certain things to happen for different reasons. And we can't always assume just because we can read something in black and white that, that person's a sinner, or that person's an error, or that person is wicked. We can't do that because you got to consider the end thereof. Like he said, read that again. I'm sorry for cutting you off. Read that verse again.
Go not forth hastily to strive, lest thou know not what to do in the end thereof, when thy neighbor have put thee to shame.
Lest thou know not what to do in the end thereof, when thy neighbor have put thee to shame. Because God is the one ultimately behind the scenes, making his plan play out the way he wanted to play out. And we got to always remember that and understand that. So the person you may be trying to cast down or cause hurt or make an example out of, or even just, point to him as if something is wrong with him, the Lord will have that person in the end, the Lord can exalt that person and you be a base. So you got to be careful with that. What verse you at, my brother?
Verse 9.
Go ahead.
Debate not thy cause with thy neighbor himself, and discover not a secret to another.
Okay, so he's telling you, and if you do have an issue, talk to your neighbor personally. Talk to that person personally. Don't make a scene. Don't spread gossip. Don't point out your neighbor's errors to somebody else. Because you never know what could have happened. Good example, David ate the showbread when he was on the run from Saul. That was a clear breaking of a commandment from God. But what did Jesus say? When there's a need, he allows certain things to happen. When there's a need. And we're going to see that in this lesson today. Keep going.
Lest he that heareth it put thee to shame, and thy infamy turn not away.
Mm-hmm.
A word fitly spoken is like apples of gold and pitchers of silver.
A word fitly spoken. That means you're supposed to do what the book say and consider what you say. Don't just jump to conclusions. Don't just jump off the deep end because you feel like you got some understanding on what a person should and should not be doing. Because the Bible lets us know we've all came from a bad past. We all trying to grow in grace. I know some of the elders to this day, when I was growing up in the churches as a child, and trust and believe, they grew into the men they are today. When they was running around younger, they were not the men they are today. That's why it's a shame that a lot of them are so quick to cast judgment on others. Because I was around when they were young men. Keep going.
As an earring of gold and as an ornament of fine gold. So is a wise reprover upon an obedient ear.
Yes, it is. Let's go to Ecclesiastes, the 7th chapter. Ecclesiastes, the 7th chapter. Ecclesiastes, the 7th chapter. And get there, I'm going to have my brother start reading at verse 8. Ecclesiastes 7 and verse 8. When you get there, go ahead.
Better is the end of a thing than the beginning thereof.
There it goes again. Better is the end of a thing than the beginning thereof. See, you can't jump to conclusions when a certain situation first happens. Because you never know what's going on. You never know how it's going to play out. You definitely don't know what the Lord is trying to work out. So that's what he's saying. Better is the end of a thing than the beginning thereof. Go ahead.
And the patient in spirit is better than the proud in spirit.
Mm-hmm.
But, be not hasty in thy spirit to be angry. For anger resteth in the bosom of fools.
Because if it was the time to be angry, that time would come anyway. You don't have to jump out day one and just be upset with somebody. No. See how it's going to play out. Consider the matter, like the book says. And see what the Lord is going to do. Because at the end of the day, you can't condemn nobody to hell, or you can't give nobody eternal life. We all striving for the same reward. We all are. And the only one that's going to reward us with what we striving for is Jesus. The only one that's going to condemn us to the lake of fire is Jesus. No one else. So we don't have to worry about what another man say or how another man may feel about any situation. It's good to take insight. It's good to get counsel. But at the end of the day, when it comes time to somebody's trying to just plainly point out right and wrong, especially when it can be an obscure situation, you need to take heed to all the information that's being presented. Let's get down to verse 15 and keep going.
All things have I seen in the days of my vanity. There is a just man that perisheth in his righteousness, and there is a wicked man that prolongeth his life in his wickedness.
You see, that's the same. See, everything happens to everybody the same. He said, there is a just man that perisheth in his righteousness. So just because you feel like you're righteous, or just because you are righteous, we all coming to an end. So ain't no point in looking at somebody else and feeling like, you're a step up. We all coming to an end. Keep going, my brother.
Be not righteous over much, neither make thyself over wise. Why shouldest thou destroy thyself?
That's ultimately what you're going to end up doing, trying to be overly righteous or overly wise. You're destroying yourself because you're nobody. Man's righteousness is as filthy rags. That's what the Bible says. So nobody's overly righteous. Nobody's overly religious. We're all striving, or supposed to be striving, to get into the kingdom. Forbearing one another, or loving one another. Mm-hmm. That's how you're going to get there. Not judging one another, especially not hasty judgment. What verse you just finished right there?
That was 16. I'm starting 17.
Go ahead.
Be not overmuch wicked, neither be thou foolish. Why shouldest thou die before thy time?
Mm-hmm. Same thing for the wicked is the same thing for the righteous. Get down to verse 20 and keep going.
To 20?
Yes, sir.
For there is not a just man upon earth that doeth good and sinneth not.
And that's what we all need to remember. There is not a just man on the earth that doeth good. So you a just man and you doing well, but you are still a sinner. Just like the man you pointing at down the street, calling him a sinner, you're no better than him. You're no better than him. Even if you are just. Even if you are just, you are no better than him. Go ahead, brother.
Also take no heed unto all words that are spoken, lest thou hear thy servant curse thee.
Mm-hmm. That's just a little food for thought. Don't worry about everything that is said to you. Keep going.
For oftentimes also thine own heart knoweth that thou... let me start over. For oftentimes also thy own heart knoweth that thou thyself likewise hast cursed others.
Mm-hmm. And that be the main thing. Straight hypocritical mindset we living in this world today. Somebody will curse you or be mad because you cursed them, but at the same time, they've done the same thing. Mm-hmm. They've done the exact same thing. The exact same thing. We all come from a place lesser than where we are today, or at least that should be the case. We all should have been growing to become God, growing to make it into the kingdom. Like I said, nobody's ready to live next to God right now in this day and age, period, anyway. I don't care who you are. Nobody's ready for that. So we all need to have compassion and understand that the same mistakes that you may see another person making, you've made similar mistakes, and in a lot of cases, trust and believe, I've been around a long time, a whole lot worse. A whole lot worse. Let's go to James, the 3rd chapter. James, the 3rd chapter. See, because we get caught up with ourselves too much. A man will get caught up in himself and feel like because he's been clean for 5 or 10 years that, you know, he can look down on somebody else. But what about the other 40 that you was terribly dirty? You throw that out the back window or out the back door. The last 40 years, oh, I've been good for 10 years though, you know. I got it together, brother. I can point to you and tell you what's wrong with you so you can be like me. And that person probably not even 40 years old. You got more years of wickedness than that person has time on this planet. Got to be careful with that. Got to be careful with that. James, the 3rd chapter. And when you get there, start reading that verse 8. James 3 and verse 8. And see what the apostle had to say right here. Or the disciple, I should say. Go ahead.
But the tongue can no man tame.
Mm-hmm.
It is an unruly evil, full of deadly poison.
Because that's how you do your cursing. You do it with your mouth. Go ahead.
Therewith bless we God, even the Father. And therewith curse we men, which are made after the similitude of God.
And you see what God's done? You know, he said you need to be careful with that. Because all men is made in God's image. Like another scripture you can read where it plainly says, how you going to love God that you've never seen and hate your brother that you see every day? You can easily condemn and judge your brother, but at the same time claim to love God. Well, God created your brother. God didn't create your brother for you to down him. God didn't create your brother for you to cast him out. God didn't create your brother so you can talk bad about him. See, that's your test you failed. Your brother got his own test. You need to worry about your own. Keep going, my brother.
Verse 10. Out of the same mouth proceedeth blessing and cursing. My brethren, these things are not so to be.
These things are not so to be. Go ahead.
Do a fountain send forth at the same place sweet water and bitter?
Mm-hmm.
Can the fig tree, my brother, bear olive berries? Neither a vine figs.
Mm-hmm.
So can no fountain both yield salt water and fresh.
Mm-hmm.
Who is a wise man and endued with knowledge among you? Let him show out of a good conversation his works with meekness of wisdom.
See, that's what shows your meekness and your wisdom. If you can refrain from talking bad about somebody. See, that shows wisdom and meekness right there. But when you're so eager to point out somebody else's issues, you ain't righteous, not at all. Because you too worried about propping your own self up. What did Jesus say? Why don't you remove the beam out of your own eye? That's what you need to worry about doing. Because we all are in need of mercy. We all are in need of forgiveness. So that's what we need to focus on that. Focus on that. Like one of my brothers in Philly put on Facebook not too long ago, Brother Stan, he said, we supposed to be examining ourselves, but we spend too much time examining others, pointing out others' faults. That's the problem. That's the problem. Go ahead, my brother. What verse you at?
14.
Go ahead.
But if ye have bitter envy and strife in your hearts, glory not, and lie not against the truth.
And lie not against the truth. See, if you got a personal vendetta or you got a personal problem with somebody, you need to be worried about your own salvation. If you so caught up, if first thing you do is wake up in the morning and think about somebody else's transgressions, you got your own problems to worry about. That's a wicked mindset. Go ahead.
This wisdom descendeth not from above, but is earthly, sensual, devilish.
Devilish. Go ahead.
For where envy and strife is, there is confusion and every evil work. But the wisdom that is from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, and easy to be entreated, full of mercy and good fruits, without partiality and without hypocrisy.
He said without partiality and without hypocrisy. What does he mean when he say without partiality? You know, because somebody can easily favor somebody and allow them to get away with so much. I mean, he could be the biggest abuser on the planet. But because you favor him, oh, you ain't going to put his business out there. You're going to hold that to your chest. You're going to be a friend of that person. You're going to be a brother to that person. You're going to cover the matter, as the Bible tells us to do. But when it's somebody you don't really care too much about, oh, here we go. You going to scream his wickedness, or you going to scream his error from the rooftops. And that's being partial. And it's also being a hypocrite. Let's go to 1 Corinthians, the 4th chapter. 1 Corinthians, the 4th chapter, and we're going to read one verse here, verse 5. 1 Corinthians 4 and verse 5. And when you get there, my brother, you can go ahead.
Therefore, judge nothing before the time.
Then this is where the title of the lesson comes from. He says, therefore, judge nothing. Nothing is absolute, people. Therefore, judge nothing before the time. And why is that? Go ahead, my brother.
Until the Lord come, who both will bring to the light the hidden things of darkness, and will make manifest the counsels of the heart.
You see that? He said, until the Lord come. Until the Lord come. You don't have no right to judge anybody. That's God's job to do the judgment. Especially when you got your own issues. You got your own problems. No, we got recovered murderers. We got recovered robbers, stealers, rapers, pedophiles, all type of people claiming to serve God right now. And more power to them, because you need to get your error in order. But you can't not forget where you came from. You can't not forget the wretched background you had to battle and drag yourself out of, and so quick to cast somebody else off as if you haven't been in the mud yourself. That's foolishness. That's foolishness, and it's pure evil. Read that verse again. I'm sorry. Start it over.
Therefore, judge nothing before the time, until the Lord come, who both will bring to light the hidden things of darkness, and will make manifest the counsels of the hearts. And then shall every man have praise of God.
Then shall every man have praise of God. I don't need no praise from no man, because I know what man do. I've been around enough men to know the tendencies of man. I know how a lot of men think. I know what a lot of men been through. So I don't want no praise, nor do I want y'all to discuss. You can keep both of them. But at the end of the day, we all need to be trying to help one another, guide one another, and not come in between one another. And the easy way to do that is to have a wicked, judgmental mentality. A wicked, judgmental mentality. You see something, oh, that can't be right. Oh, that brother wrong. Oh, that sister shouldn't act like that. Oh, that sister shouldn't have said that. Oh, that brother, he drink too much. Oh, that brother, he a thief. Oh, that brother, he a liar. All those things may be true. But look at your own self. And then say some of that stuff out loud. Treat yourself like you in one of them AA meetings and just start claiming all your faults. And watch, you don't have time to claim nobody else's. Let's go to Judges, the 14th chapter. We're going to get a good example of how God is the only judge. Judges, the 14th chapter. We're going to read a few bits and pieces of a very popular biblical story, one of probably the most popular biblical stories, about Samson. Judges, the 14th chapter. And when you get there, my brother, I want you to start reading that verse 1. And we're going to read about Samson, because Samson did a lot of things that if you were so judgmental, would look at him and be like, oh man, I don't know if that brother was righteous or wicked. Because he's done some things that you can plainly read in this story that we're going to see that was, out of the norm of a servant of God, or what the Lord commanded his servants to do. Judges 14, and when you get that, start reading that verse 1.
And Samson went down to Tanab, and saw a woman in Tanab of the daughters of the Philistines.
Mm-hmm.
And he came up and told his father and his mother, and said, I have seen a woman in Tanab of the daughters of the Philistines. Now therefore get her for me to wife.
Mm-hmm.
Then his father and his mother said unto him, Is there never a woman among the daughters of thy brethren, or among all my people, that thou goest to take a wife of the uncircumcised Philistines? And Samson said unto his father, Get her for me, for she pleaseth me well.
Okay, so right off the bat, Samson went to Timnah, and he saw a lady. He wanted her for himself, and asked his parents to go through the proper, changes it took to make her his wife. And instantly, they came to him with the, why don't you marry one of your people? Because as far as we can read in the Bible, as far as we can read in the laws of God, God said, don't give your sons to the strange nations around you, and don't take their daughters from the strange nations around you. So we were commanded by God not to be marrying outside of our nation, especially the people that was living around us, like the Philistines. That's what his mother and father was talking about when they said, is there not one of your brethren, among your brethren, one of the women among your brethren that you could wife? But read verse 4.
But his father and his mother knew not that it was of the Lord, that he sought an occasion against the Philistines.
See, you would have never thunk it. The same one that gave the children of Israel the law of don't be married outside your race or outside your nationality. He gave that law to Israel on multiple occasions. Even before they went to the wilderness, he warned them about not doing that. But in this instance, he wanted it to happen. He wanted it to happen. Why did he want it to happen? Because he sought an occasion against the Philistines. The Lord wanted to use Samson to bust the Philistines' head wide open. So the easiest way he could do that, the way he chose to play that out, was to keep Samson right in the mix with him. Yeah, go on ahead and marry one of them. Go on ahead and like them. Go on ahead and hang out with them. If you read the story of Samson, you would have never thought he ever was in Israel. He was always in Gaza or in the land of the Philistines somewhere. He wasn't never among his people hardly. Keep going though. We're going to keep going.
For at that time the Philistines had dominion over Israel.
Mm-hmm.
Then went Samson down, and his father and his mother, to Tanah, and came to the vineyards of Tanah. And behold, a young lion roared against him.
Mm-hmm.
And the Spirit of the Lord came mightily upon him, and he rent him as he would have rent a kid.
You see that? Samson killed the lion. Go ahead.
And he had nothing in his hand, but he told not his father or his mother what he had done.
This is the story that people know about when Samson ran into a lion and he killed him, and he said he tore him like he would tear a child. But go ahead, keep going.
And he went down and talked with the woman, and she pleased Samson well.
This the Philistine girl. Go ahead.
And after a time he returned to take her, and he turned aside to see the carcass of the lion. And behold, there was a swarm of bees and honey in the carcass of the lion.
Mm-hmm.
And he took thereof in his hands, and went on eating, and came to his father and mother, and he gave them, and they did eat. But he told not them that he had taken the honey out of the carcass of the lion.
Of course he didn't tell them, because it was unclean as heck. One supposed to be eating out no lion's belly that's been dead a day or so probably. Nah. But Samson was outside the norm. He wasn't a normal type of guy, in other words. He'd kill a lion and then eat out of his stomach. Yeah, ain't nothing I would try, but hey, this is what he did. And not only did he do it, but he took it to his parents and fed them it too. He wasn't a normal guy, in other words. Go ahead.
So his father went down unto the woman, and Samson made thee a feast, for so used the young man to do.
Okay, to save some time, we're gonna go on to the 15th chapter. We're going to go on to the 15th chapter and we're going to pick it up at verse 9. But we already got 2 instances of Samson doing things that we can easily point out in the law that he shouldn't have done. 1, he's marrying a Philistine woman. 2, he broke the dietary law. 2 plain, easy laws that God gave the children of Israel that Samson, in this form or another, disregarded. He disregarded them. But let's see what the end of it is. Judges, the 15th chapter. And when you get there, my brother, start reading that verse 9. 15 and 9.
Then the Philistines went up and pitched in Judah and spread themselves in Lehi. And the men of Judah said, Why are ye come up against us? And they answered, To bind Samson are we come up, to do to him as he have done to us.
Okay, so we saved a little time, but Samson had a complication with his wife, and they ended up dead, and Samson ended up retaliating, and now the Philistines came up to the land of the Israelites to come get Samson. And you know, pretty much when you come do like that, they was going to pretty much attack the people. Go ahead, though.
Then 3,000 men of Judah went to the top of the rock of Etam and said to Samson, Knowest thou not that the Philistines are rulers over us? What is this that thou hast done unto us? And he said unto them, As they did unto me, so have I done unto them.
You see that 3,000 men is judging Samson in a way that's right in their own eyes. Now, them 3,000 men could have fought. They could have defended themselves. They could have protected their homeland. But no, they chose to look at Samson in a way as if, you know, you wrong. You the cause of this. You the problem. Whole time, it's the Lord doing this. It's the Lord doing this. Go ahead.
And they said unto him, We are come down to bind thee, that we may deliver thee into the hands of the Philistines. And Samson said unto them, Swear unto me that you will not fall upon me yourselves.
So not only are they judging him or feeling like he the problem, they ready to turn him into some people that they know is going to kill him. That ain't judging righteously. And it's 3,000 y'all. Fight. Defend yourselves. Protect yourselves. But no, they'd rather point the finger and take the easy way out. Because see, it's easy to point the finger. It's easy to say you the problem. It's easy to say if we get you out the way, everything is going to be okay. The Lord is going to stir up something else. That's all He's going to do. Go ahead.
And they spake unto him, saying, No, but we will bind thee fast, and deliver thee into their hand. But surely we will not kill thee. Mm-hmm. And they bound him with 2 new cords, and brought him up from the rock. Mm-hmm. And when he came unto Lehi, the Philistines shouted against him, came mightily upon him. And the cords that were upon his arm became as flax, and they were burnt with fire. And his bands loosed from off his hands. And he found a new jawbone of an ass, and put forth his hand and took it, and slew 1,000 men therewith.
And slew 1,000 men. Now 3,000 men. This number always caught me off guard. 3,000 men just came to Samson to be judgmental and condemn him to death to the Philistines. And he killed 1,000 by himself. He killed 1,000 by himself. And the fight was over. Wasn't no more fight after that. If there was any Philistines left, they didn't want no more smoke. So, them 3,000 men, they had their own problems they need to deal with. Why they gonna turn in their own brother? They got their own problems. But, like I said, looking at Samson from the outside looking in, he wasn't an ordinary type of guy. He wasn't an ordinary type of guy. Let's get down to the 16th chapter and start at verse 1. Save a little more time. 16 and verse 1. When you get there, go ahead.
Then went Samson to Gaza, and saw there a harlot, and went in unto her.
Okay. Now he messing with a harlot. Another thing that you can plainly see. We can plainly read that thou should not be doing. But, as I say, Samson had his own way. Not saying this is the path anybody should take. But he had his own way. So he said, then went Samson to Gaza, that's another land of the Philistines, and saw there an harlot, and went in unto her. Go ahead.
And it was told to the Gazites, saying, Samson is come hither. And they compassed him in, and laid wait for him all night in the gate of the city, and were quiet all the night, saying, in the morning, when is it day, we shall kill him. And Samson lay till midnight, and arose at midnight, and took the doors of the gates of the city, and the 2 posts, and went away with them, bar and all, and put them upon his shoulders, and carried them up to the top of the hill that it was before Hebron.
That is before Hebron. So, that's another thing we can plainly see. Samson did, that we could see that you shouldn't have been doing that. You shouldn't have been fornicating. You shouldn't be messing with harlots. You know, we wasn't even allowed to have harlots in our land. So that's just to show you that Samson was out of the norm, and he did some things that, you know, to the naked eye, you probably like, ugh, I don't know about this brother. I don't know. But judge nothing before the time. Judge nothing before the time. Turn to Hebrews, the 11th chapter. Turn to Hebrews, the 11th chapter. Hebrews, the 11th chapter. And when you get there, my brother, start reading at verse 32. Hebrews 11 and verse 32. When you get there, go ahead.
And what shall I more say? For the time will fail me to tell of Gideon, and of Barak, and of Samson, and of Jephthah, of David also, and Samuel, and of the prophets, who through faith subdued kingdoms, wrought righteousness, obtained promises, stopped the mouths of lions.
That's something that we plainly read that Samson did. Go ahead.
Quenched the violence of fire, escaped the edge of the sword, out of weakness were made strong, waxed vibrant in fight, turned to flight the armies of the aliens. Women received their dead raised to life again, and others were tortured, not accepting deliverance, that they might obtain a better resurrection.
So he's talking about these people and all the stuff they went through: Gideon, Samson, Barak, David, Jephthah, Samuel, and other prophets. Keep going.
And others had trials of cruel mockings and scourgings, yea, moreover, of bounds and imprisonment.
Samson went through all that. Go ahead.
They were stoned, and they were sawn asunder, were tempted, were slain with the sword. They wandered about in sheepskins and goatskins, being destitute, afflicted, tormented.
And these are the people that he's talking about, the names he read. He's still talking about them. Gideon, Barak, Samson, Jephthah, David, Samuel, and of the prophets. These are the people he's talking about. Go ahead.
Of whom the world was not worthy.
Of whom the world was not worthy. Go ahead.
They wandered in deserts and in mountains and in dens and caves of the earth.
Keep going.
And these all, having obtained a good report through faith, received not the promise.
And these all, having obtained a good report through faith. See, Samson got a good report. He was named personally in this chapter. He got a good report. See, you ain't got to worry about Samson and some of the odd things he did. He all good. The world wasn't worthy of him. See, that's why you can't do like Jesus said in John the 7th chapter. In fact, we're going to read that. It ain't part of the lesson. But you can't judge off the appearance of things. You can't judge off the appearance of things because you're a wicked man yourself. We all wicked men and wicked women. We all have sinned and come short of the glory of God. So to judge somebody else and maybe point the finger at somebody else to try to pass sentence on somebody else, you must be out your mind if you thinking that's going to help you get to the kingdom. That's only going to deter your own path because you're too involved in somebody else's salvation and not enough in your own. But that's what he said right here in verse 38, of whom the world was not worthy. They wandered in deserts and in mountains and in dens and in caves of the earth. And these all, having obtained a good report through faith, receive not the promise. But they got a good report. They got a good report. Samson got a good report in the eyes of the Lord, according to the scripture right here. So if all we going off of is the Bible, seems like Samson is good to me. Seems like Samson is good. With all the things that he did that was unorthodox, it seems like he was good. Seems like he's in good graces. Let's read what I just started to quote. Let's go to John, the 7th chapter. John, the 7th chapter. And we're only going to read one verse. I believe it's verse 24. John, the 7th chapter. Yeah, read that for me when you get there.
Judge not according to the appearance, but judge righteous judgment.
Judge not according to the appearance. See, you looking at things from your eyes. And what the Bible say, every man is right in his own eyes. See, what something appear to you may, the way something may appear to you, God might not be seeing it that way. Like I know for a fact, people had a problem probably with Samson marrying the Philistine. You know why I'm sure they probably had a problem with that? Because they had a problem with Moses marrying the Egyptian, his own sisters and brothers. But that was from the Lord, though. That was from God. See, God can make exceptions to his rules. He can make exceptions to his rules. You can't stand on something God has told you to do and act like you gave it to somebody to do. It's not yours to cast judgment on. It's not yours at all. Let's go to Romans, the 4th chapter. Romans, the 4th chapter. Romans, the 4th chapter. And we're going to start reading that verse 4 once I get there. Romans, the 4th chapter. And we're going to start reading that verse 4. When you get there, go ahead, my brother.
Now to him that worketh, it is the reward not reckoned of grace, but of debt.
Mm-hmm.
But to him that worketh not, but believe on him that
Oh, you good.
Mm-hmm. But to him that worketh not, but believeth on him that justifieth the ungodly, his faith is counted for righteousness.
Okay, so what is pretty much saying right there that, everybody is not going to put the same work in. And we got to understand that. We got to understand that everybody's not going to put the same work in as far as, the diligence and the dedication is what we can read in the Bible is what we should and should not do. Everybody's not going to do that the same. Some people are going to be a little more lax with it. Somebody's going to be a little more, stern with it. That's just the makeup of man. Everybody don't do things the same. Everybody don't take things to the same serious nature. Does that mean that the people that's a little less or a little more lax are less than the person that is hardcore, thou shalt not? No. Because we all have growing to do. We all are trying to get to a particular point where the God can tell us that we are righteous. We can't tell ourselves we're righteous. That's all he's pretty much saying right there. Keep going on.
Even as David also describeth the blessedness of the man unto whom God imputeth righteousness without works.
You see that? Who God imputed righteousness without works. That's not it. Now, we're going to read exactly what David wrote because what he's quoting right there, he's quoting Psalms, the 32nd chapter. That's in the lesson later. But what David was saying is, or what he's saying is, God is the one that tells you you are in error. He is the one that's in charge of that determination. Not no man. He is the one in charge of that. Go ahead.
Saying, blessed are they whose iniquities are forgiven, and whose sins are covered.
Blessed are they whose iniquities are forgiven and whose sins are covered. Because we all need our iniquities forgiven and our sins covered. Each and every one of us. Keep going.
Blessed is the man to whom the Lord will not impute sin.
Impute sin. So what does he mean when he say impute sin and you blessed? The Lord is not charging you with it. See, the Lord obviously ain't holding Samson to the fire for eating out of a lion's belly. He's not holding Samson to the fire for sleeping with a harlot. He's not holding Samson to the fire for none of the things that he did, because we just plainly read that the world wasn't worthy of him, and he obtained a good report through faith. See, it took great faith for Samson to be able to do the things that he did in his lifetime. Faith that hardly anybody in this day and age ever exhibited. Ever exhibited. He wasn't afraid to run up and fight 1,000 men. See, that's faith. See, his faith got a lot of his shortcomings overlooked. See, that's why you got to be careful when you're so busy pointing out people's shortcomings, because you don't know where they faith at. You need to worry about where your shortcomings are and work on your own faith. That's all you can worry about. That's it. Get the beam out of your own eye. That's what you need to do. Get the beam out of your own eye, because it's there. It is definitely there. What verse you at, brother?
Verse 9.
Verse 9. Where we at? Romans. Nah, we gonna keep going. Let's go to 1 Chronicles, 21st chapter. We're gonna read about David, because Paul just quoted something that David wrote. And I'm gonna show you how real of a quote that is. Because it's God the one that decides whether somebody's sinning or not. Like I said, the fact that Samson broke the law and was marrying a Philistine woman, that was from the Lord. Because he had an outcome that he was trying to get worked out. That was from the Lord. And his own parents had a problem with it. But, all in all, that was from the Lord. Because the Lord sought occasion against the Philistines. 1 Chronicles 21. And when you get that, start reading that verse 1. 1 Chronicles 21 and verse 1. And we're going to read about what happened to David right here. You get that, my brother? Go ahead.
And Satan stood up against Israel and provoked David to number Israel.
Okay, so who's doing this? Satan. Satan stood up against Israel and provoked David to number Israel. David shouldn't have done this, in other words. Go ahead.
And David said to Joab and to the rulers of the people, go, number Israel from Beersheba, even to Dan, and bring the number of them to me, that I may know it. And Joab answered, the Lord make his people 100 times so many more as they be. But my lord the king, are they not all my Lord's servants? Why then do my Lord require this thing? Why will he be a cause of trespass to Israel?
You see that? Even Job. And if you know anything about Joab, Joab, if you know anything about Joab and his story, he had some wicked ways about himself. He had some wicked ways about himself to the point where the Lord had him murdered in the end. But he knew this was wrong. And that's exactly what he said. He said, why will he be the cause of trespass to Israel? Go ahead, though.
Nevertheless, the king's words prevailed against Joab. Wherefore Joab departed and went there throughout all Israel and came to Jerusalem.
Okay, so David pretty much told him, do what I tell you to do. So Joab doing the job that he was told to do. He's going to number the people. Go ahead.
And Joab gave the sum of the number of the people unto David. And all they of Israel were 1,000,000 and 100,000 men that drew swords.
All they of Israel were 1,000,000 and 100,000 men. So as far as the number Joab gave him was pretty much, you got 1,100,000 guys that ready to fight. 1,100,000 guys ready to fight. Go ahead.
In Judah was 410,000 men that drew sword.
And then in Judah was another 400,000 or 460, well, 470,000, I should say. 470,000. So these are guys that drew sword. Go ahead.
But Levi and Benjamin counted he not among them, for the king's word was abominable to Joab.
So he didn't even get David the full number because he didn't count Levi and Benjamin. Because he knew this was some foolishness. He counted the 12, the tribes up north, he counted the men of Judah, but he left out intentionally Levi and Benjamin. And these just men that drew sword. Go ahead.
And God was displeased with this thing. Therefore, he smote Israel.
God didn't like that. God didn't like what David did. And he smote Israel. Go ahead.
And David said unto God, I have sinned greatly, because I have done this thing. But now I beseech thee, do away the iniquity of thy servant, for I have done very foolishly.
Skip down to verse 14 the same time and read that.
So the Lord sent pestilence upon Israel, and there fell of Israel 70,000 men.
Okay, so we just skipped the same time, but the Lord gave him 3 options. One of the options was you can let me deal with you, or you can let your enemies deal with you, and it was another one. David chose to take the chastisement from God, because as always, we all know, you can't trust man to take it easy on you. That's exactly what he said for the most part. So God sent pestilence, and 70,000 people of Israel died because of an act that David did that he shouldn't have done. Shouldn't have done it. And all he did was number the men of Israel that drew sword. Now, I don't really know if that's why the Lord was mad, but I can go back to this scripture. Let's go to Exodus, the 30th chapter. Exodus, the 30th chapter. I can't say this is the reason, but even what David did, it wasn't according to the order that the Lord had Moses do it. It was a rule to counting them people. It was a rule to it. Exodus 30, and when you get there, my brother, start reading that verse 11. Exodus 30 and verse 11. Go ahead.
And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, when thou takest the sum of the children of Israel after their number, then shall they give every man a ransom for his soul unto the Lord, when thou numberest them, that there be no plague among them when thou numberest them.
You see that? See when the Lord had Moses number the warriors, they had to pay. Or he said it was going to be a plague. And that's exactly what a pestilence is. A pestilence is a plague. So I don't remember Joab collecting no money when he's doing these numbers. Go ahead.
This day shall give every one that passeth among them that they are numbered, half a shekel after the shekel of the sanctuary. A shekel is 20 gerahs, and a half a shekel shall be the offering of the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
Every one that passeth among them that are numbered from 20 years old and above shall give an offering unto the Lord.
And that's who David was numbering. He was numbering the men that drew sword. That's the number Joab came back with. But when the Lord had Moses number the people that draw sword, he said, oh, they all got to pay. Why they got to pay? You got to take that up with God. But they had to pay that shekel, though. God wanted that shekel so it won't be no plague among them. I can't recall Joab getting that shekel from anybody. Go ahead.
The rich shall not give more, and the poor shall not give less than half a shekel, when they give an offering unto the Lord to make an atonement for your soul. And thou shalt take the atonement money of the children of Israel, and shalt appoint it for the service of the tabernacle of the congregation, that it may be a memorial unto the children of Israel before the Lord, to make an atonement before the Lord, or to make the atonement for your souls.
Now, like I said, I don't know for sure if that's the reason why the Lord was angry, but that's the one scripture I can point out where David did something that wasn't quite in order in how the Lord had it done in the past. It wasn't in order. But all in all, it got 70,000 people killed. And the Lord was displeased with David because of what he did. To the point he killed 70,000 of the children of Israel. So that is, we will consider that to be an issue. Matter of fact, let's go back to 1 Chronicles, 21st chapter. I'll skip something I want to read. 1 Chronicles, 21st chapter. And let's see what David called what he did. 1 Chronicles 21. We just going to read this one verse because I skipped over it. Read verse 8.
And David said unto God, I have sinned greatly, because I have done this thing. But now, I beseech thee, do away the iniquity of thy servant, for I have done very foolishly.
So David admitted that he sinned greatly by doing this. And he asked the Lord to remove that from him because he have done very foolishly. So David had the mindset to say, look, Lord, I messed up. This was a great sin. He got 70,000 people killed. That's why he called it a great sin. He said he sinned greatly, and he called it foolishly, but he asked the Lord to do away with the iniquity of thy servant. He asked the Lord to overlook it. To overlook it. And let's see what the Lord did. Let's go to 1 Kings, the 15th chapter. 1 Kings, the 15th chapter. First Kings 15, and we're going to read one verse here. 1 Kings, the 15th chapter. And now we're going to read two. We're going to read down into it. Read verse 4 and 5.
Nevertheless, for David's sake did the Lord his God give him a lamp in Jerusalem to set up his son after him and to establish Jerusalem.
Okay, now he's talking about Abijah, who had took over rulership, but he wasn't quite right with the Lord. But for David's sake, the Lord allowed him to inherit. Go ahead.
Because David did that which was right in the eyes of the Lord.
He did that which was right in the eyes of who?
The Lord.
In the Lord. See, everything he did wasn't right in the eyes of man. Nothing we do in life is going to be right in the eyes of the man. But he did which was right in the eyes of the Lord. Read that verse again. Start it over. I'm sorry.
Because David did that which was right in the eyes of the Lord, and turned not aside from anything that he commanded him all the days of his life, save only in the matter of Uriah the Hittite.
So the Lord didn't even hold that to David's cause. He ain't even impute David with that sin, according to what the Bible says. If we going off what the Bible said, according to what the Bible said, the Lord, he swept that under the rug. He swept that number in Israel under the rug. Because David did that which was right in the eyes of the Lord and turned not aside from anything that he commanded him all the days of his life, save only in the matter of Uriah the Hittite. See, the Lord wasn't wiping that out. But he didn't even bring up. He didn't even bring up the number in Israel of getting 70,000 people killed. He didn't even charge David with that. He didn't charge David with that. That's why I can understand why David can write the scripture that Paul quoted. Let's go read it. Psalms 32nd chapter. See, Lord ain't got to charge you with everything. But man will charge you with everything. Man will charge you with the pettiest. A man will put you out of church for wearing fringes. Or not wearing. And all type of other foolish reasons. No sin at all. A man would paint you in a picture of pure evil because you do something that they don't quite feel like is quite right. Regardless if they can read it or not. But the only judge you need to worry about is God. Because God is the one that imputes sin on you, not man. And don't be discouraged because man try to stand in the place of God and do so. Don't be discouraged. Because who is he anyway? He didn't die for you. He ain't got nothing to bless you with or curse you with of any value. So don't even get caught up with that. You just got to learn how to move in this judgmental society that we live in. Psalms, the 32nd chapter. And when you get that, read what Paul quoted. We're going to read verses 1 and 2. When you get there, go ahead, my brother.
Blessed is he whose transgressions is forgiven, whose sin is covered.
Whose transgression is forgiven and whose sin is covered. See, God can cover your transgressions or some of your mistakes. He can cover that. He obviously covered the way the one David did, numbering Israel, because he ain't even charge him with that according to 1 Kings. Didn't even charge him with it. Go ahead.
Blessed is the man unto whom the Lord putteth not iniquity, and in whose spirit there is no guile.
See, because God can impute iniquity where he see fit. He shows mercy the way he see fit. Like I said, we didn't read it, but David ate the showbread. That was our direct command, that nobody but the Levites should eat the showbread. But what did Jesus say? When there's a need for something to be done, I ain't tripping on that. Because he working something else out. He working something else out. The book say, let your yea be yea and your nay be nay. But the Lord told Samuel to straight up lie to Saul. When the Lord told Samuel, go down there and anoint David, Samuel looked at the guy and was like, man, Saul gonna kill me if I do that. God said, don't tell him all your business. Tell him all your business. Tell me you're doing the sacrifice. I ain't telling you to commit suicide. Don't be stupid. So he pretty much gave him the pass to lie to the Lord's anointed. He lied to Saul, which is something you shouldn't do. But in certain situations, the Lord impute whether that was wrong or not. Man don't get to do that. In no situation, whether you can read it plainly or not. You need to be working with your brother. You need to be working with your sister. To the end. Long suffering, like you had God being long suffering with you. If God's been long suffering with you, and you got a time period on how long you're going to be long suffering with your brother, you need to be worried about your own salvation. Then worry about your brother doing. Let's go to Psalms 103. Psalms 103. Psalms 103. And we're going to start reading at verse 8. Psalms, the 103rd chapter. And we're going to start reading at verse 8. When you get that, my brother, go ahead.
The Lord is merciful and gracious, slow to anger, and plenteous in mercy.
Mm-hmm.
He will not always chide, neither will he keep his anger forever.
Mm-hmm.
He have not dealt with us after our sins, nor rewarded us according to our iniquities.
And that's everybody. See, everybody needs to remember that. You've done some things in your lifetime. We've all done. I've done some things in my lifetime where I deserve to be struck dead on the spot.
Right.
So, I can't look at nothing another man doing because I feel like I'm a better man today. Right. And be like, oh, he over the top. No. What I done did sin is worthy of death. So I can't look at nobody else and look at them and point the finger or feel as if, they just beyond repair. Because if anybody was beyond repair, I believe I should have been the one beyond repair. Keep going.
For as the heaven is high above the earth, so great is the mercy toward them that fear him.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the east is from the west, so far have the removed. As far as the east is from the west, so far have he removed our transgressions from us.
You see that? He removed your transgressions from you. God can do that. See, man want to hold you to the flame. Man want to get outside and make a scene about what you did. He want to make a public example of you. That's what man wants to do. But he's doing it to his own hurt. He's doing it to his own hurt. Because that same person that's doing that, that's being judgmental, is going to be the one looking for some mercy. Because we all looking for some mercy. I don't care who you is. We all looking for some mercy. Begging for some mercy. No matter who you are. We all are. Each and every last one of us. What verse was that, brother, you read?
That was 12.
That was 12. Keep going.
Like as a father pitieth his children, so the Lord pitieth them that fear him.
Mm-hmm.
For he knoweth our frame. He remembereth that we are dust.
And that's what we should do. We need to remember that we are dust when we judging somebody else. See, God, he can look over our sins. He can look over our transgressions. He can look over our shortcomings. Because he like, he ain't nothing anyway. But man can't do that, though. Man get to feeling like he go. Man, and don't let him be successful. Oh, hell. don't let it be a successful man. Oh, no. He know everything wrong about everybody. And in him there is no error.
Can't tell him nothing.
Nothing. Let's go to Luke, the 6th chapter. Luke, the 6th chapter. Luke, the 6th chapter. And when you get there, read one verse. We're going to read verse 37. Let's pay attention to what Jesus had to say. Luke 6 and verse 37. When you get there, go ahead.
Judge not, and ye shall not be judged.
He said, judge not, and ye shall not be judged. Jesus is telling you this. Go ahead.
Condemn not, and ye shall not be condemned. Forgive, and ye shall be forgiven.
You need to be forgiven, and you need to be not so quick to judge and condemn people. Because we all are looking for forgiveness. Romans, the 14th chapter. Each and every one of us is looking for forgiveness. All have sinned and come short of the glory of God. Romans 14, and when you get there, my brother, start reading that verse 1. Romans, the 14th chapter, and when you get there, start reading that verse 1.
Him that is weak in the faith, receive ye. Doubtful, what's that, bro? Disputation.
All he's saying right there, if somebody is weak in the faith, or somebody is new, or they might not be where you feel like you are, you really ain't nowhere. I hate to break it to you. Because the book let you know if a man feel like he is something when he ain't nothing. That's a whole nother lesson. But anyway, he said him that is weak in the faith receive ye, but not to doubtful disputation. So don't be assuming that somebody else is, oh man, I don't know about that brother. You know, I don't know. I don't see the fear of God in him. I had somebody say that about me one time. I don't see the fear of God in him. It ain't for you to see, nigga. It's for the Lord to see. It's for the Lord to see. But you shouldn't even receive somebody if you feel as if somebody has an error or are lacking in an area or in a part of their life. It's not on you to be doubtful about how they gonna please God anyway, because they ain't trying to please you. I'm here to please the Lord. I can care less what another man think about me. For the most part, I can care less what another man think about me. And it makes so bad. The person that said they didn't see the fear of the Lord in me, I was coming over down there to take his job running the church. So naturally, he was gonna feel the type of way anyway. But that's the type of judgment you might run into. That's the type of judgment you're gonna run into. But like the title lesson say, judge nothing before the time. Read verse 2.
For one believeth that he may eat all things. Another, who is weak, eateth herbs.
And so somebody may, it's not really talking about herbs, but somebody may be, okay, I can deal with this gospel in its full entirety, is what he's saying. From Genesis to Revelation, I can deal with this thing. I can handle this thing wisely. I can spread it and teach somebody else. And somebody else might not have that confidence. Somebody else might not be where you are with it. But still, how you supposed to behave? Go ahead.
Let not him that eateth despiseth him that eateth not. And let him which eateth not judge him that eateth. For God hath received him.
God is the one. On all levels. God is the one that we all ultimately are trying to please. And nobody else. We trying to please God. Hold on one second. I want to see something real quick. Hold on one second. Okay, keep going, my brother.
Who art thou the judges? Hold on. Who art thou? No, excuse me.
No,
who art thou that judges another man's servant?
You see that? Who art thou that judges another man's servant? I ain't trying to serve you. I'm trying to serve the Lord. So how you going to judge the Lord's servant? Mm-hmm. I ain't doing nothing I'm doing in life. I'm doing for you. I'm doing this to please God. I'm doing this to please God. So let God judge me. Well, let God judge the next man or the next woman or the next person, period, because they not living a life for you. At least they shouldn't be. And if they are in error, because cursed is the man that put their trust in man. They are in error. Read verse 4 again. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
Who art thou that judges another man's servant?
Mm-hmm.
To his own master he standeth or falleth.
To his own master he standeth to fall. He don't stand to fall to you, Mr. Judgmental, Mrs. Judgmental. He don't stand to fall to you. He stand to fall to God. Go ahead.
Yea, he shall be holding up, for God is able to make him stand.
Mm-hmm.
One man esteemeth one day above another, another esteemeth every day alike. Let every man be fully persuaded in his own mind.
Mm-hmm.
He that regardeth the day, regardeth it unto the Lord. And he that regardeth not the day, to the Lord he do not regard it. He that eateth, eateth to the Lord, for he giveth God thanks. And he that eateth not to the Lord, he eateth not, and giveth God thanks.
Mm-hmm. So he just let you know everybody is serving the Lord their own way for the most part. Now that's a blueprint, there's guidelines to it, but everybody is not going to see things the same. Everybody's not going to eat the same. We had a big dispute, still do, I guess. They do. I don't get involved with foolishness. But they have a big dispute about no holy days and how they line up and stuff like that. You know, and this is an example of why they shouldn't be so overly caught up with that, because he just said right here, one man esteemeth one day above another, another esteemeth every day alike. Let every man be fully persuaded in his own mind. He that regardeth the day regardeth it unto the Lord. And then he that regardeth not the day, to the Lord he doth not regard it. He's not doing it for you. It should all be for the Lord, no matter what it is. What verse? Verse 7?
Yes.
Go ahead.
For none of us liveth to himself, and no man dieth to himself.
Ain't that the truth? Go ahead.
For whether we live unto the Lord.
For whether we live unto the Lord. Go ahead.
Whether we die unto the Lord. Whether we live therefore or die, we are the Lord.
We are the Lord. So we can't be quick to try to tell somebody how they need to act, or how they need to move, or what they need to do. Now you can help somebody, you can even rebuke somebody, but it's the way it's about going about doing that. You don't make a public example out of nobody. Period. Because the Lord will, in the end, make a public example out of you. Go ahead.
For to this end Christ both died and rose and revived, that he might be Lord both of the living and dead.
Mm-hmm.
But why dost thou judge thy brother?
But why dost thou judge thy brother? Go ahead.
Or why dost thou set naught thy brother?
Or why do you set it not your brother? Act like your brother is nothing. Go ahead.
For we shall all stand before the judgment seat of Christ.
You're going to be standing right there with your brother. And you're going to have to answer for that. And you ain't going to be able to say, oh, well, somebody else made me do this, or somebody else told me that, or somebody else influenced me to do this. No. That's not going to be sufficient. That's not going to pass. Go ahead.
For it is written, as I live, saith the Lord, every knee shall bow to me, and every tongue shall confess to God. So then every one of us shall give account of himself to God.
You're going to have to talk about yourself. You ain't going to be able to go talk about what somebody else did, and that caused you to do that. You're going to have to give account of yourself. That man or that sister going to have to give account of themselves as well. So you ain't got time to be judging nobody else. None of us have time for that. Now, we want to help somebody. The Bible gives us a clear way of helping somebody. But if you want to slander, put down, set it not, separate, you dealing with something that ain't for you to deal with. That's not for you to deal with. Go ahead.
Let us not therefore judge one another anymore, but judge this rather, that no man put a stumbling block or an occasion to fall in his brother's way.
And that's what happens when you ultimately judging people. You're causing other people to look at somebody a certain way, which is blocking, things that person could get done. Because you're sitting here running your mouth like a little girl, or you running your mouth like a child. Oh man, that brother, that sister did this, that brother, that sister did that. so-and-so, so-and-so, so-and-so. It's constantly changing everybody else's outlook on this person. When if you did that about your own self and told about your own wretchedness, as loud as you told about somebody else's, you'll look up, you be standing in the room by your damn self. But you're not going to do that. You got too much pride for that. You got too much to lose for that. God forbid somebody find out something that you did, or you scream your stuff from the streets. That's why nobody has no room to judge. That's why when it came down to they brought the woman in the act of adultery to Jesus, he would, not only that, but y'all got y'all own issues. He without sin cast the first stone. Y'all got y'all own issues. He looking at the people that brought him. Like, oh, hi. Yeah, all right. You, okay. Fix your own salvation. Fix your own wicked mindset. Because we all got it to work on. Let's go to James, the 4th chapter. James, the 4th chapter. James, the 4th chapter. And when you get there, start reading at verse 11. James 4 and verse 11. When you get there, my brother, go ahead.
Speak not evil one of another, brethren.
Speak not evil one of another, brethren. We should be treating each other like brethren. And you don't treat nobody like brethren if you are somewhere slandering your brother or slandering your sister. Mm-hmm. You don't speak evil of them. You speak evil. If you think that they've done evil, you speak that to them. You speak that to them. Go ahead.
He that speaketh evil of his brother and judgeth his brother speaketh evil of the law and judgeth the law. Mm-hmm. But if thou judge the law, thou art not a doer of the law, but a judge.
You ain't doing it yourself now. Because the law teaches us not to judge nobody. Go ahead.
There is one lawgiver.
Read that again.
There is one lawgiver.
There is one lawgiver. There's only one. Jesus, people. Read that verse again, I'm sorry.
There is one lawgiver who is able to save and to destroy.
And we need to remember that. Can't no man save or destroy you. Not in the way that really matters. Not in the way that really matters. And somebody running their mouth talking, they ain't gonna do it in the way that don't matter. Because they too busy talking. They too busy murmuring. They too busy whispering. They ain't gonna do nothing, period, but talk. All talk. But he said right here, there is one lawgiver who is able to save and destroy. Go ahead, my brother.
Who art thou that judges another?
Who art thou that judges another? Like I said, man's righteousness is as filthy rags. And that is the lesson. Judge nothing before the time. I hope you got some understanding in Jesus' name. Until next time.